So I thought I'd add a bonus segment on going through a life crisis, which is something that is inevitable. It's something that we've all gone through many a times before, and it's something that we will all most likely go through again in the future. Whether it's the loss of a job, for example, a breakup, financial problems, missing out on a big opportunity, any kind of adversity, a catastrophe, basically anything that doesn't go according to plan. That is a life crisis. And it's not just the classic extreme ones. We tend to think that life crisis equals extreme catastrophe. And yeah, that is a crisis. However, the key here is that it depends on your experience of it. Meaning that from an outsider's perspective, what you're dealing with, to them, it's not a life crisis. They could just view it as some puny little thing. Like, what are they talking about? A life crisis? That's it. They're just dealing with that. Big fucking deal. Boo-hoo, they'll be fine. That's just meh from their perspective. But the key is your experience of it. If you're experiencing those intense sensations, if you're just shaken up to the depths of who you are and the direction you were going in life has come to an end, that is a life crisis. No matter what other people fucking tell you. Okay, it's when you're just going through life, everything's going according to plan, that's the direction you're taking, things are peachy, and then out of the blue, boom, something happens. Something unexpected, and you can't go down that road any further. That's a life crisis. And when that happens, you have two options. You can either move up or you can get dragged down. And this is why it's so fucking crucial to learn how to go through these intense moments so that you can not only go through them fast. I mean, people take forever to go through these and sometimes just never do. And I'm sure you know people like that where they went through this crisis years ago and it's still fucking running them. They're still going through it now. And some people just spend their entire lives just trying to deal with this thing. So what I want to teach you here is how to move through it fast, but even more importantly than that, how to not get dragged down. Because that is unfortunately what happens for most people. Sometimes you're lucky and you move up, but the default, the pull is going down. And for me going through that media scandal, which was the biggest life crisis I ever went through, I was so fucking lucky. And I'll say it again, I was so fucking lucky not to get dragged down. Because if you look at other people who've gone through similar scandals, most of them get dragged down. And when you get dragged down, it's all the way down. And it's horrible and shocking to find out about, but a lot of those people end up committing suicide. It's not just, I lost my job, I'm a little depressed. It's, you get dragged all the way down. So what I want to share with you here is how I personally survived that scandal, and not just survived, but came out stronger so that when the next life crisis hits you, or if you're going through something right now, you can do the same. And the first step, step number one here, is to change your definition of a life crisis and remove the negative label. And this is huge because when you think life crisis, as I mentioned before, you think, whoa, extreme catastrophe, and you think the worst thing ever. A life crisis is the worst thing ever. Like, this is your biggest nightmare, a life crisis. And similar to how with emotions, we place different labels where it's like, oh, those emotions are bad. And then you feel bad about feeling bad. The same thing will happen here, where you will have a life crisis about having a life crisis. You hit that roadblock, oh my God, and shit just hits the fan and it spirals out of control. You have a crisis about having a crisis. So change your definition. That's the first step. When it hits you, yeah, it's not pleasant. You can't keep going down that road. It's going to shake you up. It's most likely going to be a little fucking painful, but you can avoid all of that extra charge by just shifting your perspective. It's not horrible. It's not bad. It is what it is. And instead of freaking out, instead of getting sucked into victim mentality, choose to instead look for the value in it. Look for how you can benefit from this. Because no matter what happens, if you know what to look for, you can extract some fucking value. no matter what it is. And to help you with this, I mean, just think back to maybe some of the previous ones you've been through. You know, as I said, the default is you kind of get dragged down, but I'm sure you can think of maybe one, at least one, where maybe you were lucky like me and you went up. And at the time, it was horrible. At the time, you freaked out over it. It was the worst thing in the world. But looking back at it now, is it still the worst thing ever? Or are you a little thankful for it? For me, with the media scandal, horrible at the time. Worst experience of my life. Looking back at it now, I am so fucking thankful for it. Why? Because I wouldn't be this person here in front of you if I didn't go through that. And instead, I don't know where I'd be, but it would not be pretty. Because the direction I was going in life was just chasing these dirty highs, chasing validation. My goals were extremely ego-driven, and thank fucking God for that life crisis to get me to shift directions in life. Thank fucking God. And even, I mean, some other ones I went through before that, some are horrible and some drag me down, and only recently have I truly processed them. But some other ones, I'm still thankful for them. It's like those are the moments where you make drastic changes. Those are the moments that force you to change directions, because we're so fucking stubborn that we don't want to. We rarely want to question everything that we do, question our course, question things that are just autopilot, you know, make that leap. We don't want to, but that forces you to. If you lose your job, super common, lose your job, find a better one. You would never have made that leap to find a better one. Things are too comfortable. You're in your comfort zone. Horrible at the time, but looking back a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, thank God. If right now, I fast forward 2-3 years in the future, and I knew everything would be fine, how would I react to it? Would I freak out? No. It'd still be painful. It wouldn't be comfortable, but my experience of it wouldn't be as dramatic. It wouldn't be as bad. And that's the first step. Shit hits the fan right now, change your definition of a life crisis. If 2-3 years from now you knew it'd be fine, how would you experience it? Look at some of your previous ones. Look at the ones you're thankful for. Remind yourself of those previous moments. And just look around you too. I mean, it's so common. You hear of people go through these horrible events, these horrible things happen to them, and they have these trauma epiphanies. You know, like they get into an accident and they awaken. They lose a job, they awaken. You know, they lose someone they love, they break up. Suddenly that part of them wakes up. And it turned out to be for the best. Not always, but I'm sure you can think of some. And this is a choice. I choose to view it this way. It doesn't make it so, but you have two options. You can either, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Oh my God. Or hey, why is this happening for me? What can I get out of this? That's your choice. What will help you the most? And for me, from my experience, it's why did this happen for me? What value can I extract out of it? That's the first step. The second step, building on this, is to look for that value. It's to look for the hidden message, to look for the hidden lesson. That's your job. Shit hits the fan. Calm down. Don't freak out. Okay, this is happening for me. Step 2, what can I get out of it? Okay, where are the hidden gifts? And you got to ask yourself here, what can I learn from this? And depending on the situation, how did I cause this? What can I learn from this? How did I cause this? And some examples, because it's easy to think, well, there's nothing to learn from. What are you talking about? A gift in a crisis? If you're watching this and you're going through it now, you probably think there's no fucking gift. You're like, this is horrible. What value? What do you mean there's value in this? And I'll give you a couple examples. Okay, one, and this is something I experienced, is it shows you what really matters. You go through a life crisis and guess what? All of those superficial goals, all the stuff you were obsessing about that really didn't matter, they weren't authentic goals, suddenly you realize, what the fuck was I doing? And the stuff that really matters comes to the surface. You know, for me, before that media scandal, a lot of the content I was putting out was to chase more of that high. It was a lot of shock marketing, and my intention behind it, of course, was to help people and teach, but a lot of it was get more reactions. And I was just trying to be shocking. I was trying to be shocking more so than teach, with a few videos right before. And when shit hit the fan, I was like, what the fuck was I doing? It's like a huge slap in the face. Like, what am I doing? What the fuck am I chasing? Like, does this really matter? No. Why did I get in this in the first place? To help people. With Success with Women, it's to help guys improve themselves and improve their relationships, improve their dating lives. Why am I chasing these dumb ego goals? That's quickly brought to the surface. The same with who your friends are. There's two ways of viewing it. You could view it like, oh my God, I'm losing all my friends because of this. What the fuck? All these people are no longer my friends. Why is this happening to me? Or you could view it like this. You know who your true friends are. You know, there's a quote from Nassim Taleb that goes, you don't know who your true friends are until you do something that fucks them over big time where it's entirely your fault. You don't know who your true friends are until you do something that fucks them over and it's entirely your fault. And then you see who stays and who doesn't. There's a hidden gift. Again, two ways of viewing it. Why are they leaving me? Or now I know who my friends are. Now I know. You got to get creative here and you got to find the gift. But there's one. It shows you what really fucking matters. Another gift is it creates an opening for something new. You know, as I said, we're extremely stubborn. We're just looking for things that'll confirm the direction we're going in. Me before the media scandal, if you told me like, this is an ego goal, you're doing it for validation, I wouldn't give a fuck. I'd be like, dude, fuck you, I don't care. I'm gonna keep chasing this. I'm stubborn. I don't want to look for evidence that, you know, tells me I'm going down the wrong track. I'm extremely invested in this direction. And there was no opening. There was no opening for me to maybe question what I'm doing, to receive any feedback. A life crisis will do that for you. Suddenly you're forced to realize this isn't working. Maybe this isn't the way. And this is what created the opening for Transformation Mastery. You know, even something like a guided meditative release, I never would have ever done that before. I'm like, that's for pussies. Fuck that shit. Until you're forced to realize that you're going the wrong direction. This isn't the way. You got to open your mind here. Get some feedback. Try something new. There's a benefit. It forces you to confront things inside yourself that you were previously unwilling to confront. It's easy to live in denial. I mean, most of us do. You know, it's so easy to live in denial in the physical world. Just think of, I mean, a common one is checking your bank balance online, for example. You know, there's so much dread, like, oh, I'd just rather not check it. Just pretend the money's there. I don't want to know realistically what's there. And there's dread over logging into your bank account and seeing what's in there. That's just in the physical world. Imagine with stuff inside of you. It's so easy to just push it out of awareness, pretend it's not there, pretend everything is good. You know, there's that hole inside of me, this void I was trying to fill. Instead of being like, maybe you should not be seeking all this validation to fill this void. Maybe you should ask yourself, why is there a void in the first place? No, it's easy to just deny. Nah, fuck it. It's fine. It's fine. It'll eventually work. Fuck it. It forces you to confront that. Stuff you're unwilling to confront. It forces introspection. Just think of how much resistance you have if a friend gives you advice. You're like, fuck you, on something that's really personal, something you're really attached to. You know, to truly change, you have to do that to yourself. A life crisis will force you to do this. It's not pleasant, but guess what? That is a fucking gift. You know, pain, those intense sensations, they open you up. They get you more aware. It increases your self-awareness. And realize too here that life crisis, like the gifts you will get, it's not necessarily the gifts you want, but it's the gifts you fucking need. Okay? Remind yourself of that. Don't look for what you want. Just look for what's there, and you get what you fucking need. In the long run, you get what you fucking need. And in terms of the causes here, as I said before, it depends on the situation. There are some where, guess what? You didn't cause it. Don't beat yourself up like, oh, what the fuck you mean I caused this? No. There are some situations, nothing to do with you. You did not cause this. But there are some where maybe you did. If you're in a relationship and there's a breakup, you know, it's probably a mix of the two, but you might have caused a little bit of it, just a little somewhere. For me with the media scandal, I caused a little bit of that. You know, maybe a little bit more than a little bit of that. And instead of being stubborn, like, oh, fuck everyone, and just blame other people, where are the gifts? How did I cause this? And it's usually something that's buried deep in your subconscious, something you're not even aware of. And that's what I realized. It's crazy. Like, that media scandal forced me to notice a pattern in my life I was unaware of, where every time I'd be close to success, I'd pop it. I would never truly succeed. I can succeed all the way up to here, but anything further, pop. And I could trace it back all the way to my childhood. I'd go get good grades and just at the end, pop it. And I was like, why would I do that? Where the fuck does that come from? And every time it's a little bit bigger until the media scandal forces you to realize it. And thank God I realized it, because if I didn't, guess what? I'd probably recreate something similar, but even bigger. So thank fucking God. When it's hitting you, where did you cause this? Look for a pattern. I also realized that subconsciously I identified with the self-destructive artist, or the bad guy archetype in movies, where every time I'd see a movie, I was somehow thought the bad guy was cool. The bad guy who, would kind of rise, but at the end never succeed because he's the bad guy. And I'd find importance in that. It's crazy. I'm like, what the fuck? But that would run me. Where I'd succeed. And at the end, because I'm the bad guy, I can't fully succeed. And I would, again, pop it. Self-destructive. The self-destructive artist. That was me. And I found importance in the fact that it would shock people. It's like, well, why would he pop it? He's so close. Why would he do this? The fact that it stood out. The fact that no one else would pop it at the end. A sense of importance. The same with relationships. If things got too nice, I'm like, it's too flat. More drama. Because flat was boring. I couldn't resonate with peace. I couldn't resonate with things going well. I couldn't resonate with long-term success. And thanks to the media scandal, it made me realize that, and I could trace it back and release it. And now, I no longer resonate with all this drama. I can resonate with peace, success. I no longer need to pop it. Because most likely, guess what? If that still run me, I wouldn't be able to release a product like this. I would have popped it a fucking long time ago. So thank God for that. But that's the second step. Find the lessons. Find the message. That's where your focus should go. The third one is develop a perverted pleasure in the pain. Okay, because we're talking right now about removing the unnecessary stress and panic by changing the definition, shifting your focus on the lesson, on the message, but that doesn't mean it's going to be pleasant. You're being snapped out of your comfort zone. Your whole life is turned upside down. Everything you know about yourself is turned upside down, and it's fucking painful. However, that's okay, because this is the good kind of pain. This is the kind of pain where it's the melting away of all the bullshit. It's the melting away of all of the inauthenticity. And when that happens, embrace it. Stay with the pain. Don't suppress it. You're going to feel the need to suppress it, to try to numb it, to escape it. Welcome the pain. You can view this as the breakdown phase in personal transformation. You're breaking down these old, inauthentic structures to replace them with authentic ones. You're just getting rid of, like, say, false self-images, superficial ego-driven goals, self-blocking thoughts, feelings, just all the bullshit. You're extremely attached to those. You've been running on them for a long time. It's painful to have them just taken away, but you'll be thankful in the long run. It's the melting away of bullshit. That type of pain is good, and you better develop that perverted pleasure in that type of pain. Okay? It makes you more authentic. It makes you more real. It makes you more human. Open up to it, surrender to it, and stay with it. And the fourth step is don't process it mentally. Instead, feel your way through a life crisis, because it's so easy to try to think your way through. You're like, oh my God, how did this happen? What's the mental solution? What's the answer? And you don't have the answer. And you just go around in circles, and it usually ends up in a lot of self-attack. Like, why did you do this, you dumb idiot? You should have done that. You shouldn't have done that. So on and so forth in circles. And as we discussed, it's just going to breed more similar thoughts. I had that for a period of time, like going through that scandal. I'm like, why did I do this? Fucking why did this happen? And why, if only this? And then you create all these hypothetical scenarios. Like, if I did this, this would have happened. Oh my God. Maybe if I do this, you try to mentally reason with the life crisis. If I can do this, maybe I can save it, resisting it. And that doesn't help at all. That'll just keep you going around in fucking circles, trying to think your way through it. Doesn't work, or it takes a fucking long time. Instead, feel your way through it. Okay, tune into the different sensations and release those. And just keep releasing your way through. By doing so, you'll process it a lot faster, like drastically faster, because you're getting to the cause. And guess what? As we discussed, once you let go of those sensations, all of the associated thoughts will disappear as well. So those are the 4 big steps. Change the definition, okay? Find the hidden message, the hidden lesson. Develop a perverted pleasure in the pain, and don't process it mentally. Beyond that, after the fact, okay, once you've gone through the crisis, just keep being aware of any triggers, because that's usually when they kick in. For me, during the media scandal, because I was so focused on surviving it, I was like, oh my God, I was in survival mode. I wasn't triggered that much. It was after the fact. After the fact, when things settled and you're now safe, all this stuff comes to the surface. And it's just signs that there's still some stuff you need to process. There's still some stuff you need to release. So after the fact, don't think that just because it's done, it's done. There's probably some stuff still in there, and just start being aware of all the triggers. Okay, and when they happen, dive into them and trace them back to their source in your subconscious. And I'll conclude here with a question that I get all the time when I talk about going through a life crisis, which is, well, I realize, Julian, that I do benefit a lot from going through a life crisis. And does that mean that, I should purposely create a life crisis? And the answer is no. Guess what? It'll find you. You don't have to go and create a life crisis. It will fucking find you. And if right now you're thinking that, I don't like the direction I'm going, I want to go to the other direction, I need to create a life crisis to go in that other direction. Instead of doing that, guess what? Release your resistance to go into the other direction. Do it proactively. If right now you're like, I want a new job. I realize my job is not what I want. It's not authentic. Instead of creating a crisis that forces you to do it, let go of the resistance to doing it. And then you won't need a life crisis. Okay, so that is how I personally got through it. And again, didn't survive it, but thrive off of it. These are the steps that I'd recommend taking, whether it's something you encounter in the future or something you're going through right now. And remember, as a final sentence / quote here, as it goes with everything, the way through is by accepting, not resisting. Don't resist the crisis. Don't fall into victim mentality. Don't keep it alive that way. Accept it. Release the resistance. Welcome it. Find the lessons and move through it.